You know that magical moment when you discover your husband has more creativity lending your car to his side piece than he ever had planning your anniversary? Well, congratulations to me. I just won that lottery. My name is Kendall, and I'm about to tell you how a simple case of pneumonia turned into the most entertaining revenge story of my 32 years on this planet. Spoiler alert, it involves my Honda Civic, a police report, and the most satisfying phone call I've ever made in my life. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning in suburban Denver. I'm coughing up what feels like half my lungs, wrapped in 3 blankets like a human burrito, when I hear my car starting. Now you'd think that after 8 years of marriage, William, that's my darling husband, would at least mention, "Hey honey, I'm borrowing your car to help my girlfriend move her stuff." But no, that would require basic human decency. And apparently, we're fresh out of that in the Mitchell household. At first I thought maybe he was being sweet. Running to the pharmacy to get me some cough syrup, or perhaps grabbing soup from that place I like. How beautifully naive of me. It's almost cute how I still believed in his capacity for kindness. I should have known better. This is the same man who once forgot our wedding anniversary and tried to convince me we were celebrating it European style a month later. So there I am, feverish and delusional, thinking my husband is playing Florence Nightingale, when 3 hours pass and no William, no car, no medication, and definitely no soup. I tried calling him, straight to voicemail, texted him, read, but no response. At this point, even my fever-addled brain started connecting some very unpleasant dots. Now, let me paint you a picture of my relationship with my Honda Civic. That car and I have been through everything together. College, my first job, countless road trips, and every single one of William's "I'm sorry" flower runs after his various screw-ups. It's more reliable than my husband, gets better mileage than our marriage, and has never once lied to me about working late. By hour 4 of my car's mysterious disappearance, I decided to do what any rational, pneumonia-stricken wife would do. I called my sister Madison. Madison has this superpower. She can smell drama from 3 states away and has zero filter when it comes to uncomfortable truths. "Kendall, sweetie," she said after I explained the situation, "when was the last time William showed initiative about anything? The man needed GPS directions to find motivation. If he's suddenly running errands, he's not running them for you." Madison has this delightful way of confirming your worst suspicions while somehow making you laugh about them. She's like a truth serum wrapped in sarcasm and served with a side of brutal honesty. That's when she suggested I check our Ring doorbell footage. Technology is amazing, isn't it? It's like having a personal private investigator that you only pay once and never have to feed. So there I was, tablet in hand, scrolling through the morning's recordings like I was binge-watching the world's most disappointing reality show. And there it was, in glorious high-definition color. My husband, my car, and a woman I'd never seen before climbing into my passenger seat. She wasn't just any woman. She was blonde, perky, and wearing what appeared to be yoga pants that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The audacity was breathtaking, really. Not only was William having an affair, but his girlfriend had the nerve to look like she stepped out of a fitness magazine. The universe has quite the sense of humor. Here I am, looking like death warmed over, hacking up a lung. And this woman looks like she's about to film a commercial for organic green smoothies. I mean, couldn't he at least cheat with someone who looked like she'd struggle to open a pickle jar? But no, he had to go for the premium upgrade. I watched them drive away in my car, laughing and chatting like they were heading off on some romantic adventure. In that moment, I experienced what I can only describe as an epiphany wrapped in rage and seasoned with a healthy dose of, "Oh, we'll see about that." You see, William made one crucial mistake in his little affair arithmetic. He assumed I'd be too sick, too trusting, or too stupid to notice. He was wrong on all 3 counts. Pneumonia might have knocked me down, but it certainly hadn't knocked me out. And trust? Well, that died faster than my faith in his working late stories. As I sat there, watching my husband parade his mistress around in my vehicle while I could barely breathe without coughing, something clicked. This wasn't just about the car. This was about respect, dignity, and the fact that I was apparently married to someone who thought I was invisible. Well, surprise! Turns out, invisible people can still dial 911. Now, let me tell you about Alexa. Yes, that's her name, like the Amazon device. Except this one responds to "Hey girlfriend" instead of voice commands. I discovered her identity through some good old-fashioned detective work, also known as checking my husband's obviously unsecured phone while he showered. William's password was our wedding date. I know, right? The poetry of it all is just too much. The man is cheating on me with access credentials that commemorate the day he promised to forsake all others. Shakespeare couldn't have written irony this thick. Alexa works at a wellness center downtown, because of course she does. She's one of those people who probably drinks celery juice and calls it a cleanse. Her Instagram, which William had been liberally liking, was a monument to organic everything and spiritual awakening. Meanwhile, I was over here awakening to the fact that my marriage was more dead than the houseplant I'd been trying to revive for 6 months. The more I scrolled through their text messages, the more my fever seemed to burn with a different kind of heat. William had been telling her I was emotionally unavailable and didn't understand his spiritual journey. Apparently, my failure to embrace his sudden interest in meditation retreats and chakra alignment was driving him straight into Alexa's yoga-toned arms. Here's the thing about spiritual people. They sure do a lot of unspiritual things while discussing their enlightenment. Reading their conversations was like watching someone explain Buddhist philosophy while shoplifting. Alexa kept talking about releasing negative energy while actively participating in breaking up a marriage. The cognitive dissonance was fascinating, really. But the real kicker came when I found their discussion about my car. William had told her he was reclaiming his masculine energy by taking charge of household decisions without consulting me. Alexa found this so empowering and suggested they manifest their authentic selves by taking a road trip to some spiritual retreat center 2 hours away, in my car, using my gas. While I was homesick, thinking my husband was being considerate for the first time in 3 years, I've always been amazed by people who can rationalize anything. These two had turned theft and adultery into a spiritual awakening. It was almost impressive, like watching someone explain how jumping off a cliff is actually a form of flying. The mental gymnastics required were Olympic level. Madison called back around noon, just as I was discovering William's poetry phase. Yes, you read that right. My husband had been writing poetry. About Alexa. About their cosmic connection, and how she was awakening his dormant soul. The same man who once asked me if intensive purposes was one word or two was suddenly channeling Lord Byron. "Ken, you need to hear this," Madison said, barely containing her laughter. "I drove by Serenity Springs. That's the wellness center where Little Miss Namaste works. Your car is in their parking lot. They're probably in there right now, discussing how to align their chakras or whatever. The wellness center, of course. Because nothing says, 'I'm having an affair,' quite like doing it somewhere that sells crystals and aromatherapy candles. I imagined them in there, probably sitting in lotus position, discussing how their love transcended traditional marriage concepts, while my Honda Civic sat outside like an unwitting accomplice to enlightenment. That's when the real plan started forming. See, William and Alexa made one fundamental error in their spiritual calculations. They assumed I was the kind of person who would suffer in silence, maybe cry into my herbal tea, and eventually accept my role as the negative energy they were releasing from their lives. They were about to learn that pneumonia doesn't make you weak. It gives you a lot of time to think. And I'd been thinking very clearly about the legal definition of motor vehicle theft. Here's something most people don't know. In Colorado, taking someone's car without permission, even if you're married to them, can be considered unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. It's a beautiful little law that doesn't care about your spiritual journey or your cosmic connections. It only cares about consent and ownership. I owned that car. I did not consent to its use for affair purposes. The math was wonderfully simple. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I needed to confirm what I suspected. So I did what any reasonable woman would do. I called an Uber to take me to the wellness center. Yes, I was sick. Yes, I probably should have stayed in bed. But sometimes life hands you an opportunity for justice, and you don't ignore it just because you have a slight case of pneumonia. The Uber driver, bless his heart, looked concerned when I got in wearing pajamas and a winter coat, coughing like a seal with asthma. "You sure you should be out, ma'am?" he asked. I told him I was on a spiritual journey of my own, a quest for truth and automotive justice. He seemed to understand that. Arriving at Serenity Springs Wellness Center was like entering a parallel universe where everyone whispers and everything costs 3 times what it should. The receptionist, a woman named Crystal, because of course it was, looked at me like I was bringing negative energy into their sacred space. Which, to be fair, I absolutely was. "Can I help you find your inner peace today?" she asked, eyeing my pajama coat ensemble with barely concealed horror. "Actually, I'm looking for my outer Honda Civic," I replied, gesturing toward the parking lot. "The silver one. It seems to have found its way here on a spiritual journey." Crystal's expression shifted from cosmic welcoming to earthly confusion. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see my car sitting there like it owned the place. Next to it was a white Tesla, because naturally, Alexa drove something that probably cost more than my annual salary. I asked Crystal if she could point me toward the meditation room where my husband William was exploring his authentic self with his spiritual guide Alexa. The way Crystal's face went pale told me everything I needed to know. Apparently, William and Alexa's cosmic connection was well known around the wellness center. "Oh," Crystal said, suddenly very interested in her crystal's display. "They're in the couples chakra alignment session." Couples chakra alignment. Using my car to get there. While I was home with pneumonia. The beautiful irony wasn't lost on me. They were working on their energy alignment while creating the most negative energy possible in my life. It was like watching someone try to clean their house by dumping garbage in their neighbor's yard. I thanked Crystal and walked back outside, where I sat on a bench and made the most satisfying phone call of my adult life. "Denver Police Department, what's your emergency?" "Hi, yes, I'd like to report a stolen vehicle." Now, here's where things get legally delicious. The officer who took my call was thoroughly professional, but I could hear the intrigue in her voice as I explained the situation. A married woman reporting her own car stolen while her husband was inside a wellness center with another woman. Even cops appreciate a good plot twist. Officer Martinez arrived within 20 minutes, and I have to say, she had the perfect energy for this situation. Part law enforcement, part entertainment. She listened to my story with the kind of attention usually reserved for really good gossip, taking notes and occasionally raising an eyebrow. "So your husband took your car without permission to bring another woman to their, what did you call it?" "Couples chakra alignment," I repeated, and I swear I saw her bite back a smile. "And you're certain you didn't give permission for him to use the vehicle?" "Officer Martinez, I was home with pneumonia thinking he was being a caring husband running errands. Instead, he was running around with his spiritual advisor, in my car, which is registered solely in my name." She nodded, making more notes. "Ma'am, this does constitute unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Would you like me to retrieve your keys and vehicle?" Would I like her to retrieve my keys and vehicle? That was like asking if I'd like to win the lottery while simultaneously getting revenge on everyone who'd ever wronged me. But I maintained my composure and simply said, "Yes, please. I'd appreciate that very much." Officer Martinez approached the wellness center with the kind of purposeful stride that suggested she'd done this before. Through the windows, I watched Crystal frantically pointing toward the back of the building. A few minutes later, the meditation room door opened, and out came William and Alexa, looking less enlightened and more confused. William's face when he saw me sitting outside his spiritual retreat, next to a police cruiser, while wearing my pajama coat combination, was absolutely priceless. It went through several stages: confusion, recognition, panic, and finally landing on what I can only describe as spiritual emergency. Alexa, to her credit, looked like she was trying to manifest herself into another dimension. Her whole cosmic connection theory was about to get tested by the very earthly concept of motor vehicle theft laws. Officer Martinez handled the situation with professional grace, explaining to William that taking someone's car without permission, regardless of marital status, could be considered a crime. The fact that the car was registered solely in my name made things beautifully straightforward. William tried to explain about his spiritual journey and masculine energy reclamation. But Officer Martinez was less interested in his chakras than in his complete lack of car borrowing etiquette. Legal concepts don't care about your enlightenment status. "Sir, I need you to return the keys to the vehicle owner," she said. And those words hit my ears like the most beautiful symphony ever composed. Watching William dig through his pockets for my car keys while explaining to a police officer that he was channeling his authentic masculine energy was better than any streaming service could ever offer. The man who'd been too spiritually evolved for our marriage was suddenly very concerned about earthly consequences. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding," he said, his voice climbing an octave. "Kendall's my wife. We share everything. Everything except permission, apparently," Officer Martinez replied dryly. "The car is registered in her name only. She didn't consent to its use. That makes this pretty straightforward." Alexa stood behind William like she was trying to hide behind a toothpick. For someone who spent her days teaching people about positive energy and authentic living, she looked remarkably uncomfortable with the authentic consequences of her choices. Her spiritual enlightenment seemed to evaporate in the face of potential legal problems. "This is creating such negative energy," Alexa whispered, apparently unaware that stealing someone's car while they're sick might also generate some negative vibes. I couldn't help myself. "Don't worry, Alexa. I'm sure the universe is just realigning itself." Officer Martinez handed me my keys, and the weight of them in my palm felt like justice served with a side of cosmic retribution. "Ma'am, would you like to press charges?" Now that was the question of the day. William's eyes went wide, probably calculating how unauthorized use of a motor vehicle would look on his LinkedIn profile. Alexa looked like she was trying to astral project herself back to whatever dimension she came from. "You know what, Officer Martinez? I think the universe has delivered its message loud and clear. I'll just take my car and go home." But here's where the story gets even better. As I was about to leave, Crystal from the reception desk came running out, looking frazzled. "Excuse me," she called to Officer Martinez, "but I think you should know. They haven't paid for their session yet." Apparently, William and Alexa had been in such a hurry to deal with their car theft situation that they'd forgotten to handle their wellness center bill. $150 for couples chakra alignment, using my car to get there, while I was homesick. The cosmic irony was absolutely delicious. They came to align their chakras and ended up with a police report and an unpaid bill. Meanwhile, I was about to drive home in my rightfully retrieved vehicle, leaving them to figure out how to get back to their respective homes without my Honda Civic. Officer Martinez looked at me. "Ma'am, they're asking if they can call someone for a ride." "Of course they can," I said sweetly. "The wellness center probably has a phone. I'm sure the universe will provide." As I got into my car, I rolled down the window one last time. "William, I'll have my attorney contact you about the divorce papers. And Alexa, you might want to realign your chakras. They seem a little off." The drive home was magnificent. My Honda Civic purred like it was happy to be back with its rightful owner. I cranked up the radio, rolled down the windows despite my pneumonia, and felt more alive than I had in months. There's something profoundly therapeutic about reclaiming what's yours, especially when it comes with a side of poetic justice. But the best part was yet to come. Because while I was driving home, basking in my victory, my phone started buzzing with text messages. William was discovering that Alexa's spiritual enlightenment didn't extend to splitting Uber fees. Apparently, the universe was teaching them both about the earthly concept of consequences. "William, Kendall, we need to talk. This is insane." Me. "You're absolutely right. Taking someone's car without permission is insane. Good thing I fixed that." "William, I can't believe you called the police on me." Me. "I can't believe you stole my car for a date." But here we are, both learning new things about each other. The texts kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. William was finally understanding that actions have consequences, even when you're on a spiritual journey. Alexa, meanwhile, had apparently decided that her cosmic connection with a married man wasn't worth dealing with police reports and abandoned them both at the wellness center. By the time I got home, William was calling. I let it go to voicemail. Then I made myself some tea, wrapped up in my blankets, and listened to his message. "Kendall, please. We need to discuss this like adults. I know I made a mistake, but involving the police was extreme. Can't we work this out? Mistake. He called it a mistake. Like he'd accidentally put salt in his coffee instead of sugar. Not like he'd stolen my car to cheat on me while I was sick. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my apartment. Yes, my apartment. Because apparently when you call the police on your cheating husband for letting his girlfriend drive your BMW without permission, it tends to accelerate the whole divorce conversation. Who knew? The divorce went smoother than my BMW's transmission. Turns out, when you have a police report documenting your soon-to-be ex-husband's unauthorized vehicle lending for affair purposes, divorce attorneys get very excited. It's like Christmas morning for them. William tried to claim the BMW was marital property and should be split 50-50. The audacity was breathtaking. My attorney's response was poetry in motion. Your Honor, the vehicle in question is registered solely in my client's name, purchased with her individual funds, and was the subject of unauthorized use that required police intervention. My client's husband gave a third-party permission to operate a vehicle he had no legal right to authorize. The judge, a woman in her 60s who clearly had seen every ridiculous divorce argument imaginable, was not impressed with William's claim that he deserved half of a car he'd essentially helped steal. She looked over her glasses at him and said, "Mr. Mitchell, I'm not in the habit of rewarding people who facilitate unauthorized use of other people's property. Case closed. BMW stays with me." Alexa, meanwhile, had what I can only describe as a complete spiritual breakdown. Word around town is that she left the wellness center and moved to Oregon to find herself at an ashram, presumably one with better public transportation options. Turns out, finding yourself is easier when you're not driving other people's luxury cars without permission. The wellness center actually offered me a free session after the whole incident. Crystal called personally to apologize and suggest I might benefit from some healing energy work. I politely declined, explaining that I'd found all the healing I needed in the form of justice, and my BMW keys returned to their rightful owner. Madison still brings up the story at family gatherings. She's turned it into this epic tale of sisterly justice, complete with sound effects when she gets to the part about Officer Martinez making Alexa return my keys. According to Madison's version, I'm practically a feminist superhero who conquered adultery with nothing but a police report and perfect timing involving a BMW. My BMW is doing great, thanks for asking. We've been on several road trips since the incident, just the two of us, no unauthorized drivers. It's amazing how much more enjoyable luxury cars are when they're not being operated by people who steal them for spiritual purposes. I did hear through the neighborhood grapevine that William had to take 3 buses to get home from the wellness center that day. Apparently, Alexa's spiritual enlightenment didn't include sharing her Tesla with stranded affair partners who facilitate vehicle theft. There's probably a lesson about karma in there somewhere, but I'm too busy enjoying my life to dig too deep into cosmic philosophy. These days, I work from home, recovered completely from both pneumonia and marriage, and I've discovered that my sense of humor got significantly sharper after being betrayed. It's like emotional trauma gave my sarcasm superpowers. I should write a self-help book, How Betrayal Made Me Funnier, a guide to finding your voice after someone else drives your BMW without permission. I've also learned that sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor, but excellent timing. If I hadn't been sick that Monday, if I hadn't been home to see them leave, if I hadn't been bored enough to check the Ring doorbell footage, none of this beautiful chaos would have happened. My attorney sent me a card last week that said, "Thanks for the easiest divorce case of my career." Inside, she'd written, "Police reports involving luxury vehicles make everything so much simpler." I'm thinking of framing it next to my BMW registration, both symbols of things that are mine and mine alone. The funny thing about betrayal is that it reveals people's true character, including your own. I discovered I'm the kind of person who calls the police when someone drives my BMW without permission, regardless of our relationship status or their spiritual journey. William discovered he's the kind of person who facilitates vehicle theft for enlightenment purposes. Alexa discovered she's the kind of person who abandons ship when unauthorized BMW usage gets legally complicated. We all learned something valuable that day. I still drive past Serenity Springs sometimes, just for the smile it gives me. They have a new sign out front. All visitors must provide proof of vehicle ownership and authorization. I like to think I contributed to that policy improvement through my educational police report. In the end, I realized that trust isn't just about fidelity. It's also about not letting strangers drive your BMW while you're sick. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting your keys back and driving away from people who never deserved to be in your driver's seat anyway. The universe works in mysterious ways, but apparently it has excellent taste in justice and luxury vehicle ownership rights.